Welcome everybody out to Money Matrix. This is Business Hacking. We are in week 7. This is going to be a very unique week. I hope this comes together the way I'm planning on it because it was triggered by many phone calls I had this week. A lot of times people really get stuck on their business. They get hung up on their business partners, their spouses. They get stuck in these ruts, and honestly, the only difference between a rut and a grave is the depth of the hole. These ruts that we get into are usually a mindset, not a business set, a mindset, not based off circumstance, just simply a mindset. So I did a lot of research this week. I thought, how can I create the most value for you guys today? Now, we've talked a lot in the past about how money increases happiness, how happiness increases money. But I want to take it to a level deeper and really show a case study. So Sean Aker, who's a Harvard professor, in the Harvard Review, he talked about how happiness increases productivity by 31%. It increases your sales by 37%. Now, these are not small numbers. This is not a 3% or a 5% change. These are 1/3 difference. I thought, we need to put some time in this. If I could give you a magic pill and you could instantly increase your productivity by 31%, wouldn't you buy that pill? Absolutely. If I could increase your sales by 37% by a little patch that you wore on your arm, would you want that patch? Absolutely. So I did a ton of research. I own a library of books of different things and concepts. And one of the themes that I studied last year was the power of happiness, how it affects us, how it holds us back, how it makes us move forward. His book is called The Happiness Advantage. Phenomenal book. Another one we're going to share today is by Neil Pasricha. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'll show you here in a second. In Neil's book, his book's called The Happiness Equation. He talks about the model that has held most people back. It's, do great work, big success, then you'll be happy. Study hard, get straight A's, then you'll be happy. Interview lots, get a good job, then you'll be happy. Work really hard, get promoted, and then you'll be happy. This model is broken. The calls that I get from people, my one-on-one clients, my mastermind calls, different people I strategize with, it's always about an emotional thing that is holding their business back. So in his book, The Happiness Equation, he changes the model. Be happy, do great work, have big success. So I want to show you this new model. I want you to take away the skepticism, and I want you to think, really, if I could increase my productivity by 31% or increase my sales by 37%, would I not want to do it? Absolutely. So the happiness equation is this. Want nothing plus do anything equals have everything. So in Neil's book, he breaks down how much we have compared to what our ancestors had. It's an absolutely staggering amount of, when you think about running water, flushing toilets, electricity, all these things we did not have years and years ago. What we did have were survival, trying to live, trying to provide food, trying to make catch that beast, slaughter it, kill it, save it, eat it, and survive. We don't have that equation today. We have access to more things than we have ever had. So where are we stuck with our happiness? Why are we held back? Why are we so dissatisfied when we have access to more things than our ancestors could even think of? The way our minds used to be programmed, or I should say they still are programmed, we look for the problem, we find the problem, and then we want to improve upon the problem. And he changed this. He spun it on his head and said, okay, want nothing, do anything, have everything. And he learned this from his first book that he wrote called The Book of Awesome. Now, I used to give this to all my one-on-one clients, and it is probably one of the best books I've read. It's a very simple book. It is based off his blog called 1,000 Awesome Things. Now, in his book, 1,000 Awesome Things, he was really depressed. His best friend committed suicide. His fiance canceled their marriage. He lost his job all in 30 days. And it devastated him. It completely destroyed him. Lost his productivity, lost his desire to work, lost everything. Then he thought, you know what? I'm just going to look for 1,000 awesome things, and I'm going to write about it every single day. So he got to the point of, warm socks right out of the dryer. That's an awesome thing. Seeing someone slip on ice and fall, but not get hurt, but fall, really funny, awesome thing. So he just started blogging about this. Well, this blog really took off, and then all of a sudden, he started getting more and more views on his blog. In his book, The Happiness Equation, he shares his experience, and it is so profound because I think it sums up exactly the human experience that we go through about doing more work, working harder, and then I'll be happy, that I'm actually going to read it to you. It's 3 pages. I've never done this before, but I've never found anyone purposely and so clearly explain how our minds work when it comes to our goals. The blog starts, 50,017 hits, hearts thumping, palms sweating. I sit back on my creaky wooden chair, stare at my blog, and grimace. Is this real? I click refresh, scrunching my face, and look at the screen again. Blog stats, 50,792 hits. 700 people visited my blog in the last 30 seconds. I think to myself, only 4 weeks ago, I started writing 1,000 awesome things. And after a few hundred visits, it looks like the day's post, number 980, old dangerous playground equipment, went viral while I was at work. My heart beats faster. I had one simple goal when I started writing 1,000 awesome things. I wanted to try to write 1,000 awesome things for 1,000 days in a row. But after the first couple of weeks writing about broccoli flour and potato chip crumbs, I started noticing that stats counted on the side of my page. It showed how many people had visited. 7, then 27, then a dozen, then 100. I got hooked at watching the number climb. Now, as I'm reading this, think about your life. Think about your business. Aren't you watching the numbers and you're looking at how many people show up on a Thursday, how many show up on a Saturday? And wait till we get to the end of this. So I set a different goal for myself. I decided I wanted 50,000 hits. When number 980, old dangerous playground equipment, went viral, a few weeks later, I had accomplished my goal. But then I told myself 50,000 is way too small, too easy. It didn't mean much getting 50,000 hits. The big sites had a million. So that became my new goal, 1 million hits. I kept writing every day, adding links to email signatures and blog comments I left around the web. I got stickers printed and started handing them out. I wrote number 951, hearing a stranger fart in public. Number 933, the first scoop out of a jar of peanut butter. Number 909, bakery air. Flash forward a few months later and I got 1 million hits. I enjoyed the feeling for a couple days before realizing the best blogs don't just have 1 million hits, they get tens of millions of hits and get turned into books and movies. I had set my goal too low. 1 million hits wasn't worth anything. Nothing happened when you got 1 million hits. I needed to go big to get some real action. So I set a new goal, 10 million hits. For 6 months, I kept writing. After work every day, I got takeout and sat in my computer well into the night. I wrote the next post, responded to email, and started getting interviews with local radio stations and TV stations. I was featured on the front page of the Toronto Star. I wrote number 874, the 5-second rule. Number 858, the one side of the pillow. Number 824, finding the TV remote after looking forever. 9 months after I had started my blog, I suddenly reached 10 million hits. Won 2 awards for best blog in the world and was approached by a literary agent to turn my blog into a book. Once I had a literary agent, I started researching the book industry. I learned more and more, and I learned that more than 300,000 books are published every single year in the United States, and well over 1 million a year are published around the world. Suddenly it dawned on me, getting a book published was not very special. 1 million people did it every year. I looked at the bestseller list, and they had only 10 or 20 books on them. I calculated that only a few hundred books make the bestseller list each year, less than 0.01%. So I set a new goal. I wanted my book to be a bestseller. I want to be one of 0.01%. The Globe and Mail published a bestseller list every weekend, and I started checking it. What did these books have in common? What made them great? What made them sell? So for the next year, I kept writing my blog, every day writing my book, and working on a book launch plan. My book was to work with bloggers to prepare interviews and articles about my book, while working with a publisher to line up radio, newspaper, and TV interviews, all to come out when my book hit the shelves. Basically, the entire year after winning the award, I was consumed with the Book of Awesome, hitting the bestseller list. It was all I wanted. Thought about it, talked about it, then the big day of publication came. I woke up early and started interviewing after interview. I posted a special entry called number 526, When Dreams Come True. My voice turned to scratchy, bags under my eyes turned black, and I was sleeping 3 to 4 hours a night. And then finally, the next Saturday morning, the newspaper came out. I hit number 2 on the bestseller list. It was a dream come true. I went to bed happy. I had achieved my goal. My publisher excited too. Their joy said to keep pushing. I woke up the next morning and took a closer look at the bestseller list. My book was listed at #1, first time in history. I noticed other books were on the list for 20 or 30 weeks. That was staying power. That was more important than being a one-hit wonder. I didn't want to go the rest of my life telling people my book was a bestseller for just 1 week. I suddenly realized that popping on the bestseller list was nice, but it was nowhere near my true goal. I wanted this book to be a big, huge New York Times bestseller, a #1 beside my name. Eventually, the Book of Awesome hit #1 on the bestseller list and stayed there for 5 weeks, and then 10 weeks, then 50 weeks, then 100 weeks. Foreign publishers translated the book into German, Korean, French, Dutch, and Portuguese. The Book of Awesome hit the New York Times bestseller list too. It was on the Today Show, The Early Show, CNN, and the BBC. The producer of The Office optioned TV rights to the book, and some big film producers optioned the movie rights too. I got another book deal, and another, and then another. And I had done it. I had finally reached my goal. I started smiling, tried to relax. A few days later, after working so hard for 3 years straight, lying in bed alone in my tiny apartment, getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep, eating takeout every single meal, developing black bags under my eyes, and losing touch with my friends, I suddenly had a realization. No matter how many external goals I achieved, I just kept setting more. You set goal, you achieve goal, you set goal, you achieve goal. I started realizing that external goals didn't help me become a better person. Only internal goals mattered. Okay, so if you've ever done my one-on-one coaching, if you've ever done Emotional Fingerprint, you know all I teach about is internal versus external. Thank you for allowing me to read that. I have never seen anyone so eloquently put in a 3-year time period into three pages. Every time we set a goal that's external, meaning you want to hit a certain number, certain amount of people to show up, we're always left wanting more. Now, once again, I know in business you got to set goals, you got to set standards, but let's be honest. Back at the beginning of this, we talked about if you are happier, you are 31% more productive. If you are happy, you have 37% increase in sales. So maybe every single thing we know about is wrong. Maybe everything we've been told by our parents, by schools, by government, maybe it's completely wrong. Research does not lie. Numbers do not lie. So if we can really tap into 31% more productivity, if we can really tap into being 37% higher in sales, then man, let's take a shot at it. Let's really break this down and see if there's something different. We need to first be happy, then do great, great work. Then you will have all the success you want. Years ago, I had a very, very big dream. This was 2006, it was 2006, before 2008 happened. When I was a little kid, I was into Magnum PI. I always had the Ferrari up on my wall, the Ferrari 308 GTS. And then I went to go buy it one day, and I realized it was just too small. It's built for Italian men. I'm 6'1". I'm not a small kid. And I thought, darn it, that goal didn't pan out the way I wanted to. But internally, what I really wanted was a very fast, very loud, very obnoxious car. So I set out to find that car. I test drove Lamborghinis, Ferraris, everything from Lotus, you name it, I test drove it. And I came upon a car once that changed my life. I got in, I started up, the sound of the motor was so loud that it literally scared me. And it was a Dodge Viper. Had this car for about a year, we moved, and so I sold it. Always wanting another one, always yearning for another one. I thought, you know what, I need to get another car. So I went, bought another Dodge Viper, and I thought, you know, this time I'm going to make it very internal. I'm going to make it about what I want, not what the world wants. So I had it custom painted. If you're watching this online, you can see the picture. I found this Hot Wheels car. Actually, it was a friend of mine who found the Hot Wheels car in Vegas. Said, Woody, I found the way I want to paint your car. And he ironically owned a auto body shop. I said, man, that thing looks beautiful. I want to paint it. So we had it custom painted. We took off all the decals, all the logos of Dodge, and we just made it my car. This was my dream. This is all I ever wanted internally. It was for me. Nobody knew what it was. It was modified. It was 900 horses. 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. Top speed was 217. This thing was a monster. If I would drive it through a parking garage, it would set off all the alarms of every car in that garage. Just the bass and the vibration of the engine and the muffler was insane. Well, lo and behold, 2008 came, and I paid cash for it. And then 2008 came, and I had borrowed against it, and I lost it. I lost it. I lost my house. I lost my cars. I lost my kid's college account. I lost everything. And it was excruciating for me. It was very painful. But it was a very internal dream. I knew one day I would have that car back. Now, it was taken from me, literally ripped out of my hands, sent to the auction to pay the creditors, and that was the last I saw it. For years, I pondered what to do, how to get it back. I checked the VIN number. I did a Carfax. I found that it had been bought in California but sold. Couldn't find out where it went. And then for a couple of years ago, I hired a private investigator online, and he found it in Florida. That's all I could find was in Florida. I would Google green and black Dodge Viper. I would go onto Facebook. I would go onto social media. I would try to find the picture of this car to find out who owned it. Finally, about a month and a half, 2 months ago, I went to 3 or 4 different police friends I had, and I said, I know legally you cannot do this for me, but here's the VIN number. Could you find out who owns my car? Could you find out where it is and let me know? And I know you can't give me his phone number, but could you just get me a mailing address? 2 weeks ago, I was in New York, just decided to handwrite this guy a letter, send him this exact picture you see online, mail it to him and said, hey, you know what? This car is mine. I built this car. I had lost it in 08. Is there any way you'd be interested in selling it? Or just text me a picture of it. Let me know it's still alive. Let me know it wasn't wrapped around a pole on a racetrack somewhere. Lo and behold, I go to New York, come back. I've been looking for a new Viper for about 2 years. I keep searching. The current car I have right now, it's a 2001 Lexus. It's got 170,000 miles on it. I've owned watches worth more than this car. But in my mind, I didn't care what I drove. I wanted my car back. So I just could have cared less. I just didn't care. I wanted my car that belonged to me. It wasn't an external goal, meaning I didn't want the world to know that I had. I could have cared less what the world thought of me. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to go buy another car. And so I looked at this beautiful, gorgeous, pristine, I mean, you could see your face in the paint, beautiful Dodge Viper. It only had 4,000 miles on it. It was in my neighborhood, and I thought, oh, I can just drive this home. I took my young boys with me. They're foaming at the mouth. Dad, let's get it. This is the best thing. We got to get it. Let's get it before Mom comes home. She'll kill us, but let's do it. So I get home, and in my gut, I'm like, that's not what you want. You want your car. That is what you want. That is what you set out to get. Don't buy this car. So if you remember Garrett Gunderson's equation, MC plus RC equals FC. Mental capital plus relationship capital equals financial capital. When I lost everything in 08, my mechanic, his name's Todd. In my phone, it still says Todd the Viper guy. He and I became dear, dear friends. I helped his company get over the $1 million mark through some coaching. He'd put some parts on my car. We modified it, made it this monster. He called me up one day and said, Woody, bring your car in. So I brought my car into him, and he gives me an envelope of cash, $2,500. Now, mind you, I'm on food stamps. I am destitute. I've lost my house. I've got nothing left. $2,500 felt like 25 grand. I said, Todd, what is this for? And he said, I'm going to take some parts off your car. I'm going to sell them. I want you to have this money. Now, he did not have to do that, but he helped me in a bind. And so when I saw this car, I called him up, and I said, Todd, I found a car for you, because he still fixes Vipers and sells them. And he said, Woody, what you don't understand about this phone call is that car is one of 100. It was actually number 35, one of 100. It was a special edition. He goes, before I met you, Woody, I had that exact car, that exact color, and I had to sell it to build my business. He goes, I want that car. I'm willing to fly up there and buy that car tomorrow morning. And it was at 9 o'clock at night. I said, oh, Todd, I'm so happy that I could help you find your dream. No problem. I said, in the future, if I can't find my Viper, I want you to build me another one and fulfill my dream. He said, no problem, Woody. I'll do that for you. So the next day he flies up. He misses his flight, and he calls me. He's like, Woody, I'm going to lose this car. I can't wire the guy money. Utah, for some reason, does not have a Bank of America branch. I can't get there and wire the money in time. I don't know what to do. I'm going to lose the car. I said, Todd, let me do it for you. I will wire the money for you. You write me a check when you get here. I know you're good for it. Now, here's a grown man, tattooed mechanic. He's a rough guy, and I love Todd, but he's a rough individual. He about breaks down. He gets choked up. He's like, you would do that for me? I said, Todd, would you do it for me? He said, absolutely, I would. I said, and that is why I will do it for you. So he comes to my house. I haven't seen him in 5 years. I've only talked to him once or twice. And he bought the car, wrote me a check. And you have to ask yourself, how resilient are your relationships? How valuable are they to you? Because when it comes to happiness, it's all about relationships. It's all about how you show up, how you serve, how you give, and how people give back. But I still hadn't fulfilled my goal. I still hadn't fulfilled that thing that I wanted more than anything. I'm in Arizona at the regionals, 6:30 in the morning, Saturday morning. I wake up wide awake. Now, if you've been at regionals or you've traveled with Bob and Scott and everybody, you don't get any sleep. So we got to bed about 1:30. I'm exhausted. I wake up at 6:30 wide awake, can't figure out why I'm awake, and lo and behold, my phone is ringing. And it says Miami, Florida. And I thought, what are the chances? There's no way this is the guy. Pick up the phone. I said, hello? He said, yeah. Are you the guy who's looking for my Viper? I said, yes. Is this a Muhammad? He's like, yeah. So we strike this conversation. He said, Woody, people have been asking to buy my car. My brother has been begging me for 2 years to sell him my car because he said, I own 5 cars. I'm a Corvette guy. I own 5 Corvettes, and I have your Viper. He goes, I won't sell it to him. And then I just went into it. I said, I don't care, Muhammad. This car is mine. I need to have it. You tell me what it's going to take. And he didn't want to say a number. So I finally asked him, what did you buy it for? He told me. Now he's owned it for 5 years. I said, how many miles have you put on it? He said, 4,000. He hasn't even touched the car. I mean, this car is still pristine. It's still my car. I said, here's the deal. I'll pay you. And I just said like $4,000 less than what he bought it for. So for 4 years, he's had it, and it only cost him basically $4,000. He said, well, I just put brand new tires on it. I said, I'll pay for the tires. So we came up to another price, which was really just $2,000 less than what he paid for it. So he got to enjoy this car for 5 years, and it's only going to cost him $2,000 total. And lo and behold, he sent me these pictures. My car is still there. It's in Miami. It is still in perfect condition. And I literally, after I hung up the phone with him, dropped to my knees, gave gratitude to my Lord, thanked him, and just started crying. And the only reason I'm sharing this story is not so you can say, oh, hey, that's Woody's car. I could care less if anybody sees this car. To me, it's about the dream. It's about the passion for why you wake up in the morning. It's for why you are alive, for what makes you tick and makes you move. For if you ever set external goals, the New York Times bestseller, $1 million a year, $100,000 a month, whatever it is, you're always going to want more. It's never going to be satisfying. And if you're never satisfied, you're never happy. If you're never happy, you never do great work. If you never do great work, you never have a big success. So all these external goals, these shots in the arm, these sugar spikes, if you will, never lead to long-term happiness and long-term success. Happiness is the 90-10 rule. 10% is circumstance. 90% is everything else. So 10% of your happiness is what happens to us. 90% is based on how we see the world. This was a research done at the University of California. They found that it all comes to just that simple 90% of how we see the world. So do you see the world with gratitude? Do you see the world with happiness and joy and peace? Or do you see it with bitterness and anger and fatigue? I want to share with you the M.O.N.E.Y study. This is also from his book, The Happiness Equation. And here are 2 different paragraphs. What happened was, and this is an amazing study they came across at the University of Kentucky. They stumbled across these old boxes with handwritten biographies and notes. And it was an interview that the University of Kentucky did with nuns in the 1930s and the 1940s. Now, mind you, nuns don't smoke, they don't drink, they don't have sex. This is one of the perfect case studies in history because all of the applicants had the exact same life, same profession, never married, never had children. So this was an amazing study that they found. And here are the 2 different biographies that they read like this. The first one read, I was born September 26, 1909. The eldest of 7 children, 5 girls and 2 boys. My candidate year was spent in the mother house teaching chemistry and second year Latin at Notre Dame Institute. With God's grace, I intend to do my best for our order, for the spread of the religion, and for my personal satisfaction. Then here's the second sister. God started my life off well with bestowing upon me a grace of inestimable value. The past year which I have spent in a candidate study at Notre Dame College has been a very happy one. Now I look forward with eager joy to receiving the holy habit of Our Lady and the life of union with our love divine. Notice the difference. One is factual, one is boring, the other one is gratitude-based. So they followed these sisters. They went and they interviewed them again, and this is what they found out. The happiest nuns lived 10 years longer than the least happiest nun. By age 80, the most happy group had lost only 25% of its population, whereas the least happy group had lost 60%. 54% of the most happy nuns reached the age of 94, compared to 15% of the least happy nuns. This is huge, you guys. I mean, we're talking about living longer. If you could take a certain vitamin that added 10 years to your life, would you take that vitamin? Probably. That vitamin is happiness. So how do we find happiness? And where is it always hidden? And how do we solve problems? Because it seems like problems always get in our way. The way we solve problems is we have to create space. We have to create space in our minds and in our business. When NASA was launching the Hubble telescope, they just came out off of dealing with the Challenger explosion that cost the lives of a volunteer teacher and other astronauts. They lost the Mars Observer, which cost them $837 million. The Hubble telescope had a 96-inch broken mirror on it and was floating around the space helplessly. I mean, useless. There was nothing. I mean, could you imagine? They spent $2.5 billion on this thing, and now it's floating around the globe doing nothing. They thought they were going to close NASA. And they looked at scientists. They started working extra hours. They put hundreds of millions of dollars into solving this problem. And they couldn't solve it. No matter what they did, they could not solve the problem. Then, one day, Jim Crocker, who was an engineer, was in Germany. And he was in the shower, and he noticed the shower heads slid up and down on this pulley system. And he thought, oh my gosh, we could do that same thing for the telescope. We could shoot astronauts into outer space, catch the telescope, change out the mirror on the sliding pole, and we could always update it. We could always change it. Flew back to NASA, presented the idea, and that's exactly what they did. How many of you have had your best ideas in the shower? Or maybe it was when you were running, or maybe it was driving while listening to music. The reason why is your brain is creating space. Hitchcock, he's won many Academy Awards, The Birds. I mean, his movies have been the original thrillers that, started that genre. He had a writing partner, and when that writing partner and him would argue about a certain plot, he would start telling him other stories. And the writing partner would get so mad. He's like, Hitchcock, what are you doing? We're not talking about that right now. And over time, what he realized was by shifting to other stories, it freed up his mind to find the solution. And so they did that. How was milk chocolate invented? Hershey made his money in caramels. He sold his company for $1 million back in the early 1900s. That was an enormous amount of money, probably $100 million a day. With one condition, he could not go back into caramel. So he wanted to make milk chocolate. At that time, milk chocolate did not exist. It was not invented. It was only dark chocolate. So he hired and he took his money and he built Hershey, Pennsylvania. He built his own factory. He hired college-educated engineers. He did all this. And after 3 years, he could not figure out how to make milk chocolate. One day, Hershey was inspecting a vat filled with silky milk solution that blended easily with the chocolate. The worker who created the solution, John Schmalbach, was not one of Hershey's college-educated chemists. He was a regular floor employee. Schmalbach's breakthrough had been to dissolve the high concentration of sugar in the milk and then boil it slowly at low temperature in the vacuum. Now he had a product to manufacture in his new facility. How did he do this? He was experimenting. He did it after hours. He was just having fun. He was just being happy. He wasn't even in charge of this opportunity. He just thought, you know what? I got nothing to do. I'm just a lowly worker. I'll just see if I can mix some chocolate in, and I'll do some low temperature, and I'll melt some sugar. And the highly educated people could not figure it out. See the equation here? That happiness leads to making more money. I know that it sounds really touchy-feely. I know it sounds like holding hands and singing Kumbaya. But I always look for hacks that work. In my life, when I am struggling, and I'll tell you guys, my life is very, very intense with my time. I mean, I'm on the road 4 days out of the week. I'm home 3 days. I'm coaching dozens of people. I'm doing the masterminds. I've got my other business. I'm building Money Matrix. I'm pushing 12 and 18-hour days on a regular basis while still trying to be a good husband and a loving father to my 3 children. So I am constantly and consistently looking for hacks that work, that get results, and that make me more money. And it always comes back to this simple hack: be happy. Last night I was exhausted. I was frustrated. I thought, oh, I can't keep going at this pace. We've got 4 more regionals to go. I can't keep it up. And the thought came to me, fun size. So in our mastermind last year, I talked about this. I don't like to exercise, as you can tell by my overweight body, but I love to fun size. I like to have a good time. I like to go out and play. And so I live in Utah, and I live next to the mountains, and I have a Razor, which is, if you're not familiar with that, it's kind of like a dune buggy. And I thought, you know what, let's go see if we can get this thing muddy. So I loaded it up, went up in the mountains, and just raced that thing as hard as I could, tearing up the tires, jumping bushes, just getting muddy. It was cold, wet. It was fantastic. I loved it. 30 minutes in the Razor is the equivalent of like a 5-hour nap for me because it brings me back to happiness. Came back, started working on this PowerPoint, started working on the book. Oh, that's another thing. I still got 2 more books that we're doing right now, and they're near completion. We're just literally getting the final things that will go to print this week. So we're burning the midnight oil every single day. Happiness is my magic pill. It is the thing that allows me to sleep soundly through the night without medication. It's the thing that helps me. So I want to give you 7 business hacks to being happy. These are all different case studies that I have found in different books. Some were in the book, The Happiness Equation. Some were in The Purpose of Happiness. Some was in The Happiness Experiment. I mean, there's tons of books on happiness out there. So these kind of come from all of them. The study was done that 3 brisk walks a week increase happiness. The American Psychosomatic Society found that 30-minute walks can improve clinical depression. Here's the part that I really like. It has a greater impact than exercise and antidepressants combined. In my life, I've been on antidepressants. I have gone through many sleepless nights. I have a sleeping disorder. And learning to walk, and this is where I call fun sizing, I like to swim. I like to kayak. I like to just get out and have a good time. Someone asked if they could see the slide before. Let me just show it real quick. You want to take a picture of that with your phone. I'm going to go through all 7 now, but here are the 7 business hacks to being happy. 3 walks, the 20-minute replay, random acts of kindness, unplugging, flow, the 2-minute meditation, and the 5 gratitudes. So moving forward, a 2-minute replay. The University of Texas found that if you write down 20 minutes in a journal 3 times a week, things that you are happy about, things that you love, you are literally role-playing that in your mind. You're reliving it. Your body feels that same joy. Now you're giving gratitude for your job. Now you don't mind making those phone calls. Now you don't mind reaching out and having fun and taking people to networking events. Random acts of kindness produces happiness. We scientists have found that doing a kindness produces the single most reliable monetary increase in well-being of any exercise we've ever tested. A client of mine, this was years ago, it's probably 10 years ago, got a call from his wife and said, "Have you been to Starbucks again?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Are you buying coffee again for people?" He said, "Yeah," because he did that all the time. He would just buy coffee for the car behind him. He said, "Well, it's on the radio right now." And so they watched it. And I don't remember the number. I can't remember if it was 87 or 145. But it went on for a couple of hours where every person would literally buy the receipt for the person behind them. And it was either 87 cars in a row or 145. And I thought, what a fantastic random act of kindness. So I started implementing that at Taco Bell, McDonald's. I said, "Hey, I'll buy the car behind me." And just the other day, and I've done that off and on for 10 years, just the other day, for the first time in my life, it was given to me. And I loved it. I thought it was the coolest thing to pull up to the window and someone say, "Oh, no, this has been paid for by the car who already left." And that's why I like it, because it's random. The cars already drove away. You can't fake them. So that person just has the satisfaction, that internal goal, that internal joy that they did good in the world. Unplug. The richest, happiest, and most productive lives are characterized by the ability to fully engage in the challenge at hand, but also to disengage periodically and seek renewal. I do this thing called a media fast, where 24 hours, 72 hours, or a week, I'll do a media fast. So outside of work, 9 to 5, 8 to 5, I'll turn my phone off, no TV, no radio, nothing, and just unplug. I tell you, it is the most enjoyable, most relaxing way, the easiest way to getting happy. For those of you who are on social media, nothing against social media, but it has been proven time and time again that whenever we compare ourselves, we are miserable. The fastest way to being unhappy is comparison. The sad thing is, social media tends to make you compare. Social media by itself is a fantastic technology, but we as humans instantly want to compare. We look at a picture and we say, oh, am I better than them or am I worse than them? Do I have more or less money than them? Am I taller, shorter, fatter, skinnier, happier than them? If you have the ability, or if you want to take a great challenge, this weekend, unplug for the weekend. Just totally unplug. Put it away, turn it off, don't let it turn on. You'll be amazed at how well you feel. I was in Arizona and I went to dinner with Scott Rowe and it was John O'Neill. Yeah, Scott and John. And they started this new game where they take their phones and they put them in the center of the table upside down. Whoever touches the phone during lunch owes the other person $500. And I thought, oh, I'll win this game. I got no problem not touching my phone. However, during the conversation, 4 or 5 times, I want to reach out and grab my phone to look up something based on what we were talking about. And I noticed how much more intimate the conversation was. The bond that I felt with John and the bond that I felt with Scott, it was fantastic. So if you guys are going out with people from the community, do that game. Maybe $500 is too expensive. Make it $5, $50, something that will sting. But during lunch, unplug. Flow. This guy right here is one of the most amazing men. He wrote the book Cybernetics. His name is M.O.N.E.Y, Csikszentmihalyi, and he talks all about flow. Like what causes our brain to get in that creative moment where time doesn't exist, time doesn't matter, that we're able to get our best work done. Now we've all experienced it. You can do it in running, you can do it in writing, you can do it in walking, talking, where your mind just, time doesn't even matter. You're in what he has defined as flow. Flow is one of the greatest places of happiness, but the way you get there is passion. You have to do something you're passionate about. When I'm on my razor last night, I'm in passion. I'm feeling joy. I'm feeling happiness. My mind is just constantly thinking about the business and what I could do to change it and how I can make it better. And it's just this amazing moment of peace. That's what flow is all about. 2-minute meditations. Massachusetts General Hospital found through brain scans that after 2 minutes of meditation, parts of the brain associated with compassion and self-awareness grew while parts associated with stress shrank. When was the last time stress ever produced anything interesting or beautiful? Yeah, you might say, well, that stress helped me get that thing done faster. Yeah, but you didn't enjoy it. You didn't have any fun. Think about 365 days ago today. What were you doing 365 days ago today? Most likely you can't remember. Most likely you were stressed about something and now it doesn't matter. So taking that moving forward, how can you use it to your advantage? Just remove stress. Take 10 minutes, 2 minutes even. Meditate, ponder, pray. I like to lay on the floor, put my arms out, take in deep, deep breaths, and just ponder my day and what I need to do. And as I do that, I'm clearing out all that stress, and now I can get to work. The 5 gratitudes. Researchers M.O.N.E.Y and M.O.N.E.Y wrote down 5 things you are grateful for. If you write down 5 things you are grateful for, here's what they found. The people who focused on gratitude were just flat out happier. They saw their lives in favorable terms. They reported fewer negative physical symptoms, such as headaches or colds. They were active in the ways that were good for them. They spent almost an hour and a half more per week exercising than those who focused on the hassles. Plain and simple, those who were grateful had a higher quality of life. I can't help but think, some of you right now are probably thinking, this is the dumbest thing ever. These are things we've heard all our entire lives. But why do so few people do them? Because they don't put value on them. If you can flip a switch in your brain and be happy, and that happiness increases your sales by 37% and your productivity by 31%, then my gosh, please do it. I have seen this in my own life work. I would not have brought this up if I did not think it was excruciatingly important to you. The phone calls that I get from FAB members to average people to normal people to successful people in this business, it's always stress related. It's always fear related. The only thing that is holding them back in their business is their lack of joy in the business. Think about it for you right now. I had a phone call last night that really bothered me, that really triggered all this. And I felt bad for this individual because this individual was giving up. They were quitting. They were stopping. simply because they were bitter towards somebody else. They didn't have gratitude. They hadn't felt happiness. They hadn't done anything for themselves or joyful in the last 2 years. And so when this happens, we give up. I don't want you guys to give up. Bob and I have proven, I've kept track of the people who are in the mastermind, that in the 90 days, they increased their profit 149%. That is phenomenal. I want you guys to go out and crush it. I want you to make so much stupid money that you can go buy dumb toys and have dreams and fulfill them and just do anything you want to do. But let's take a different approach. If something's not working, then let's try it new. And gratitude and happiness is that secret. Another study. Gratitude, when expressed to others, almost always comes back around. People who feel appreciated are more willing to make an effort for those who make them feel valued. In one study, waitresses who simply wrote thank you on the check before handing it out to their customers received, on average, 11% more in tips than those who didn't. Waitresses who wrote a message about upcoming dinner specials on the checks also received higher tips, on average, 17 to 20%. In a world where personal connections are seemingly increasingly limited and sometimes stressful when they do occur, gratitude resonates. Okay, imagine, let's say you make $100,000 a year. And if you can increase that by 17 to 20%, simply by doing one tiny little thing, that is $17,000 to $20,000 more per year. This stuff works, guys. I don't know how to make it more clear, and I want you to do it. Here's your homework challenge. With my one-on-one clients, I have them do this exercise where I have them write down 50 things they're grateful for every single day for 7 days. 50 things they're grateful for every day for 7 days. If you do that, at the end of the week, you're going to have 350 things you are grateful for. Let me tell you, I have done this exercise myself. By day 2, you're writing down tube socks, butterflies, Fruit Loops, Cheerios, things that as a kid you loved and made you happy. Tap back into that and you will have all the success you want to have. I know we've gone a little long today and I haven't gotten to the mastermind of things. I just can't express how important this is. You guys know that I love you. I work my guts out for this mastermind, for who you guys are, what you do. I support you. I want you to thrive. So I'm only going to ask one question on the mastermind. I want a mastermind right now on what is your internal goal. So your internal goal is what you can control, what you have the ability to do. So what is it that you have control over? Go ahead and text that in to 951-973-3408. That's 951-973-3408. What is your internal goal? What is that one thing that is driving you right now? And let's read these off. And as always, I'm looking for a pattern. Is there a pattern here that we can tap into? And this week, I'll also be assigning your mastermind partner, your accountability partner. The purpose of the accountability partner is to help you achieve your internal goal, to follow up with you on a weekly basis for the next 4 weeks, and then we'll rotate again. But for you to tap into that strength, for you to rely on someone, a 2x4 breaks at 437 pounds of pressure. You nail 2 2x4s together, and it's 1,877 pounds. That is enormous. So you're talking a 4.5 time multiple. That is why we're assigning you an accountability partner. All right, go ahead and text me in. I only see 1 or 2 coming in. Please text those in to me. Let's see what your internal goal is. And if you find that it's hard, maybe you don't have one. And maybe that's why you aren't happy, and maybe that's why your business isn't succeeding. Because with Neil and his perfect experience of trying to be, this guy is a rock star, New York Times best-selling author in multiple countries, being on TV, and he's miserable because the goals kept moving. All right, perfect, guys. I am going to read these off to you. Helping others become successful. That's a beautiful one. Get his wife out of her job. Bringing others joy and happiness. Being able to make income necessary to go to sleep happier every night. To open up more opportunities. Earn 6 figures before the year ends. I have the support and ability to save myself and others from anything. These are fantastic goals. These are goals worth living. You put that happiness first, you'll do great work, you will be a huge success. Thank you all. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Please re-watch these slides. Look at these. These are the magic pills to increasing your sales by 37% and increasing your productivity by 31%. Have a great week. We will talk to you soon. Love you tons. See ya.